Hello survivors, it is your girl Survivor Nomad. I'm back with another video. I am at one of my favorite Vietnamese restaurants having dinner, and I just wanted to talk to you guys while I ate some dinner. Today I want to talk to you guys about anger after narcissistic abuse. You might find yourself very, very angry. I know I did. When I left my narcissist, I was very, very angry at all the things that he had done to me, but more so I was angry with myself for allowing it. So I spent a long time, and even now sometimes I'm still angry about the fact that I would allow someone to do the things to me that I allowed my abuser to do to me under the guise of love. And I think this is important to talk about because a lot of survivors are empaths. And if you're an empath or codependent, I like to talk more about empaths though, because I truly believe that a great majority of people that are being abused in abusive relationships, whether it be with a narcissist or any type of abuse, if you're enduring abuse, I do believe that a great majority of those people are empaths and not codependents. You can be codependent. Some of them are codependents, but I know for myself, I am not a codependent. I am an empath, okay? And if you seek help, a lot of times you will just be labeled a codependent because a lot of therapists or people that you will see will go by what they've been trained to look at and what they've been trained to categorize you as. They will go by that for a diagnosis. I myself do not believe that I am a codependent, and so that is why I talk about empath. It's because I do believe that myself, along with a lot of other people, are empathic, and we tend to care a lot. We have huge hearts, and so we will stay in unhealthy relationships for a lot longer than I think the average person, and a lot longer than we should. So I'm saying all of that to say that when you finally come from under the abuse, and when you finally come from under the fog, a lot of times there will be a lot of pent up anger. You will be sometimes very angry. And in my case, it was more or less anger at myself for allowing myself to be abused. Okay? Did I forgive myself? Yes, I have forgiven myself for it, and I love myself. I still love myself, but there was a period of time immediately after the abuse where I was just like, how could you have let somebody do this to you? Like, how? And the reason that the narcissist chooses an empath is that we are loving. They do recognize in us those caring, loving emotions. They know that we're extremely loyal, and they peg you from the beginning. They know that you're likely to stay with them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have chosen you. They know that there are certain people that are just not going to put up with it. They're not going to be loyal to them. And so you were chosen because of the good qualities that you possess. But at the end of the day, that still does not take away the anger that you have when you know that you allowed somebody to abuse you and you should not have allowed that to happen. Okay? So you might find that after you leave your abuser, you think that it's all over. And I'm here to tell you, a lot of the times it has just begun. Because once you start your healing process, all of these thoughts, you replay the scenes in your mind over and over again. And it's like being in a conversation with someone who is manipulative, or, you know, sometimes you have a person that is always trying to find an angle on you. They're always trying to insult you. And a lot of times they'll do it in joking ways, and they'll say, oh, I'm just kidding. So imagine that you're with this kind of person, and you know, you want to remain elegant, you want to remain composed, you want to remain emotionally in control of yourself. So, and sometimes just for the sake of peace, you will just let things slide. Okay, you know this person very well. You know that that's just their MO. That's what they do. They get a kick out of humiliating people and making people feel bad. But have you ever gotten home and thought, you know what, I should have just said this or that? Or replayed in your mind like, I wish I had said this to her. I should have just told her off. Or I should have stood my ground. Or I should have defended myself. And you didn't. And you have a huge amount of regret that you didn't protect yourself in some way, at the least by just getting up and walking away from that person. And that's what it's like when you leave a narcissist, but it's times 100. It's very intense because there's a high likelihood that the things you endure with the narcissist were much worse than the run-of-the-mill annoying person who on occasion tries to insult you or make you feel less than. So you find yourself tangled in a web of anger. And sometimes that anger is directed at self. Sometimes that anger is directed at others. And this is a thing that we also need to watch for. We need to watch for our anger being directed at those who care about us and who are trying to help us. Because sometimes your anger is directed at those closest to you. And these may be people who are really genuinely and sincerely wanting to help you, but they can't because you're so angry and you're so suspicious of everyone. You've been put into fight or flight mode by the abuse, and you just feel like you can't trust anybody, and you're angry because naturally as empaths, we are very trusting. We tend to love hard, and we are very open people. We're honest to a fault. And so when we find that the narcissist had destroyed our life in such a way and destroyed our trust and misused us in ways that we probably have never been misused before, we begin to not trust people in general. And with not trusting people in general comes a lot of anger because we want to be able to trust people. We're naturally trusting. We are naturally very, very trusting. Sometimes people will say that we're so trusting that we're naive. I've been called green in my life and things like that because I was so trusting of people. And it just makes you so angry when you feel like you can't trust anybody anymore because it's not your natural state of being to be distrustful. And it's actually, in my honest opinion, it's painful to an empath to not be able to trust people. It's painful to us because that's not our natural state of being. And so you're walking around now not knowing who you can trust. A lot of abuse victims feel like they can never date again. You may feel like you will never get married again. You may feel like you'll never find anybody that you can trust again. And I think considering what you've been through, that it's very normal to feel that way. And I'm not going to try to tell you to stop feeling that way. For as long as you feel like you don't want or don't need to trust people, go with it. Until you can find a safe place and until you can start rebuilding relationships and start back trusting, take your time with it. Don't try to force yourself into anything. You know, right now in the abuse community, there's a lot of talk about healing and how do I know when I'm healed and wanting to heal so quickly. There's no rush to heal, guys. Healing takes time. It's going to take energy. And one of the things I had to learn was just to allow myself to be angry. Like, I hate being angry. I don't like being angry because I feel like being angry, you know, it's like, oh, now I'm just a negative person. And I just can't stand to think of myself as negative. And when I'm angry, I am negative. And I had to learn to just go with it. And I had to learn to say to myself, yes, you're angry. And that's okay. It's okay to be angry. You have a lot of valid feelings right now. And you have reason to be angry. When you're leaving an abuser, your whole life changes. Especially if you were married to that person or in a long-term relationship with that person, your whole life changes. And it can be very, very, very tempting to suppress those feelings of anger, to suppress all of the things that are going on within you. And I'm here to tell you, just go with it. Don't suppress those feelings. Don't feel like you have to act and be a certain way. If you need to take time when you're angry to be alone, do that. If you need to curl up in bed with your blanket and movies and a cup of chamomile tea, then do that. Whatever you need to do. If you need to get out in the wilderness and go on a hike or be alone, do it. If you need to spend time with family or friends, find your favorite cousin, your favorite family member, and just spend time with that person. Whatever you need to do to work through that process. If you need to call a friend and talk, if you need to get with a therapist and just hash it out, journal, meditate, exercise, eat healthy foods, take yourself out to dinner. Like, that's one of the things I'm doing lately, is just taking myself out to dinner as a way to say to myself, it's okay. It is okay to be angry, and it's okay to go ahead and just forgive yourself for allowing yourself to be abused. So, not blaming yourself, but just giving yourself that space to forgive yourself. I think as empaths, we're so forgiving of other people. We tend to look over the faults of other people, and we're such huge caretakers of others that sometimes we don't give ourselves that needed love and attention. And I'm just here to tell you, if you're angry at yourself, if you're angry at flying monkeys, if you're angry at family members or friends who don't believe you, if you're angry at the authorities, if you're angry at your narc, if you're angry at people who may not have even contributed to your abuse, but you felt like that they just weren't there for you when you needed them, know that it is okay. Accept your anger, accept the way you're feeling, and push through it. You can come out on the other side of this, guys, and trust and believe. I know how difficult it is because I'm going through it right now. And it has been the worst time in my life. I've never gone through anything as traumatic as this. And I've lost my mom. I lost my father when I was 12 years old. Nothing compares. Nothing compares. And so I can tell you that those things and those experiences that I had that I considered bad, I was able to get over them and to process them. And although they were very painful, nothing has compared to the pain of the abuse that I've endured. And so I'm with you guys. I decided to make these videos while I was actually recovering so that I wouldn't feel the distance. I didn't want to wait until I was completely through my recovery before I started making these videos, because I wanted us to go through it together. I didn't want to be far removed from my experiences. And that is why, you know, I'm talking so candidly with you guys and saying, yes, I'm going through it now. I'm actually going through a period of anger and hurt and just feeling like I need to constantly give myself positive affirmations, and I need to forgive myself more. Every day I have to forgive myself. If I have a thought about something that happened, and I have to forgive myself. Sometimes I get triggered by things that happen even with other people who have nothing to do with my abuser, but maybe they're treating me in a way that reminds me of a way that my abuser treated me. And I have to say to myself, you know, this is a part of the healing process. You can, it's okay. It's okay to be angry at this person. This person's not your abuser. This is a completely different person. This is a completely different set of circumstances, but it's okay if it brings up those feelings in you. And then I journal, and then I run, and then I swim, and then I bike, I dance, I go out and take myself out on dates, I watch a good movie, you know, I practice my skills and I encourage myself, and I continue loving myself, and I say to myself, you are a strong person, you can do this. And I want you guys to start doing that to yourself. Say to yourself how strong you are. You survived. You were able to leave this person. If you're not out of your relationship, I know you're well on your way to being out of it. I know that by you watching these videos, you're even considering it. You're considering leaving. You're looking for answers. That is the first step. Give yourself a pat on the back for that, because it's huge. I know how huge it is. It's a huge accomplishment. And so that is essentially why I wanted to talk to you guys today. Like, anger is a huge part of it. If you haven't gone through it yet, you probably will very soon. You need to brace yourself because it's coming. And it is a part of the healing process. And I think that not everybody goes through a stage of anger, but from what I've seen and the people I've talked to and my own personal experience, a lot of people do. A lot of people do. And sometimes it can be the most difficult part of the recovery, because the anger sometimes can cause you to act in ways that is counter to your normal self. It's counter to who you truly are inside. You know, you might find yourself going off on people, being really antisocial, not being your bubbly, fun, loving, caring self. And it's okay. I mean, you just accept it. You apologize if you've hurt anybody's feelings or if you've gone off on someone unjustifiably, regardless of whether you feel like it's justifiable. Apologize and try to move forward. Like, don't harm your relationships, especially ones that you really value, because you're going to need those people, because the struggle is real. Like, you're going to go through a lot, and some days are going to be better than others. Some days you're going to be so angry, even the sight of your narcissist will trigger you. Even hearing about him will trigger you. Hearing about his new supply will trigger you. Someone treating you in a way that you feel is similar to the way the narcissist treated you or talked to you will trigger you. And you might become sad, but you might become angry. And just, you know, treat yourself well, guys. I'm going to do a video on self-care because it's so important during this anger period. Some of you guys will experience anxiety, depression. Some of you guys have post-traumatic stress. You're going to have to do a lot of self-care and a lot of work. And like I said, I will make another video talking specifically about self-care, talking about self-work,